Hello, my name is Ruben Dupertuis, and I am a professor of religion at Trinity University. I am delighted to be here today with Dilpreet Sidhu, who is Director of International Relations for the Mayor's Office of Los Angeles, California. And she is also part of the Biden-Harris transition team as a part of the National Security Council's agency review team. She graduated in 2009 with a double major in English and religion and a minor in economics. Got some questions for you, Dilpreet, and so let's start with having you tell us a little bit about yourself and your career.
Great. Thank you so much, first of all, Dr. Dupertuis. I think I'm allowed to call you Ruben now, but just really appreciate being able to talk to Trinity students about my experience. So first off, I'm from the state of Virginia. I was born there, right outside of Washington, D.C. My family comes from India, and we are part of a very minority community of Sikhs practicing the Sikh faith. And I came to Trinity because a good friend and mentor of mine had gone there and recommended it and was just raving about the education he received there. So that kind of led me to Trinity by way of going to a high school that was a STEM focused high school. And so coming out of that high school experience, I was really interested in trying something different out. And Trinity had a reputation of being a great liberal arts college. And so that's kind of what brought me to Trinity. What made me stay at Trinity, I should say, because, there's always the option of transferring or, trying other things out, was indeed the education I got there, the relationships I made with friends and professors, and just the sense of a super high quality liberal arts education. So in that regard, I feel like I definitely got what I came for. Currently, I'm the Director of International Relations for the Mayor's Office in the city of Los Angeles. My day-to-day looks like engaging with representatives of different diaspora communities in LA. I engage with all of the different diplomats who are posted in Los Angeles and who represent their countries at the over 100 consulates that are there. I also work with young students, community college students, and students from all sorts of backgrounds who are interested in learning about international relations and interested in careers in international relations. And one of my personal passions is expanding the pipeline of students who go on to do pursue careers in foreign policy and international relations, and make sure that pipeline is as diverse as possible.
With two humanities majors at Trinity, one in English and the other in religion, can you tell us a little bit more about why you chose to study these two subjects or disciplines and what skills you feel you acquired while pursuing these humanities majors?
Yeah, I mean, just to be very candid, I didn't really know, as many other students don't as well, what I wanted to major in. And so my first semester at Trinity, I really focused on kind of knocking out the classes that I knew were going to be required, using at the time the common curriculum that had you take certain classes in the different departments. And my approach was to just get those done with first. And so that led me to take classes in departments that I otherwise wouldn't have set foot in, including the economics department and the religion department. And I was seeing at the time that other students took a different approach, and they were thinking about their first year in terms of knocking out pre-med classes and doing bio and all the kind of hard science requirements needed to do pre-med. And many of my friends and classmates didn't end up pursuing med school eventually. And so I feel like while they were spending a lot of time taking classes that they ultimately decided was not the path they wanted to pursue, I was taking classes and exploring topics that were just personally very interesting to me. And I just started taking class after class, taking intro to religion, then taking the next one and the next one in the sequence, and just let that kind of be my path in following my interests. I think that served me well. I mean, I think um, having a double major in English and religion was certainly not what I had set out to do. But you know, the first year and second year and third year flew by, and I looked back and realized that I had accrued enough credits to make these into majors, and then really used my kind of latter half of my time at Trinity to really focus on those subjects and wrap up the majors. I feel that those majors really um, gave me three things. One, the ability to think critically. And I think that's something I've taken with me throughout my professional career. The ability to have empathy and kind of really be able to interpret different people and places and things. And that's something I continue to do to this day. As well as the ability to communicate effectively. When you spend so much time reading and writing, such a large part of what you do is figuring out how to communicate well, how to communicate clearly. And that's something, no matter what you end up doing in your professional life, is something that's a valuable skill. And so those are kind of the three things that I took away from those majors and that continue to serve me well today.
How would you describe your experience with your humanities education at Trinity? Were there highlights? Are there specific memories that have stuck with you?
Yeah, I definitely think the highlights were indeed my professors. I mean, I think that one of the great things about Trinity is the small class sizes and the personal relationships you get to develop with your professors because of the kind of one-on-one attention you can really get in the small classrooms. I have a lot of great memories with Dr. Colleen Grissom, who is kind of a powerhouse in the English department. She, while other professors were assigning us to write 15, 20-page papers, her assignments would be, you get to write a one-page paper. And oftentimes that was the harder assignment than the 15-page paper. And I think, I just remember getting eviscerated my first few classes with her because she really forced you to think and write and communicate clearly and effectively. And throughout my career, that continues to be a challenge that you see with other colleagues, is that they're not able to communicate clearly and effectively. And so I really credit her with that skill that I was able to develop. And just, even in the religion department, of course, you, Dr. Dupertuis, Dr. Mackenzie Brown, I mean, just so many professors that, really you were able to just walk in their door and talk about the reading or the assignments and your goals of what you want to accomplish, and just the support that you get from the faculty was something that remains a highlight.
We often hear that it's about connections and relationships. What specific relationships have helped you on your career path? Was there an advisor? And I think you've mentioned this a little bit already with some of the skills that you gained in your majors, but was there an advisor or faculty member that played a key role in shaping your career path? Or can you say a little bit about how you found that and the support you got along the way?
Yeah, I think, with both, in the case of both my majors, English and religion, I found that both departments were incredibly helpful in being creative about how I thought about my time in their department. So for example, with the English department, my senior year realized that I wanted to graduate a semester early. Not everyone chooses to do that, but the department really worked with me to figure out how I could make that happen, including doing independent study, becoming a TA for a class, and just the level of support I got from the department to still have a quality education while also being mindful of some of the goals that I had individually. With the religion department, they employed me. I was sat in the lobby of the department and would support the professors, and that was a really great experience for me financially, but also to get some work experience in an office. And so I just found that, again, going back to the relationships that you can develop with professors, and just them being able to really take each student on as a case-by-case basis and see what their needs are and support them on their journey.
How have the humanities worked for you? Now we're shifting over to your career and your the work you've done since graduating. What was your path after college, and what were the important steps? And how did your humanities training come into play or serve as a foundation? Are there specific moments where you can see these connections?
Yeah, again, even after I graduated from Trinity, I wasn't entirely clear, what I wanted to do. Again, I think that's very normal for a lot of people um, who are not going into kind of like a hard science or, marketing or something like that. Um, I knew I really cared about, the world. I kind of thought I wanted to go into the nonprofit sector or into public service. And that was about as far as I got. What I did after graduating Trinity was I focused on internships. I graduated in 2009, right around the really terrible recession. It was tough to get jobs at that time. And so I really focused on uh, getting professional experience, even in the form of internships, to really figure out what it was that I was interested in doing, but also to just get practical work experience. And so that led me to intern with the State Department. That's eventually where I got a job. I worked at the State Department on the India desk. So the State Department's broken up into different regions, and each country is represented by a desk. And so I worked on the India desk, and I had the chance to work on the human rights portfolio. And that was an amazing kind of first experience of working in public service, working in the federal government, and working on international relations. And from there, things just, not to say that it all just kind of happens, but things started to line up. I was continuing to kind of explore options within the State Department. I was successful in some cases. I was not successful in some cases, but I, remained tenacious. And from the India desk, I went on to work for the Secretary of State's office. Um, I was an assistant in that office, and I was able to travel with the Secretary of State for 2 years to some 30 or 40 countries. I would, ensure that the Secretary of State's briefing materials were in tip-top shape, that they were responsive to the needs that he had or the questions that he had in the meetings that he was having. I helped arrange all of the logistics and the planning of his meetings overseas. And so I did quite a bit of advance for the Secretary of State, where I would go in advance of him and get everything ready in country, working with the US Embassy before the Secretary of State arrived. So that was obviously an amazing experience where I got to travel. I got to see, diplomacy and international relations up close and personal. And, this was kind of a time that really solidified that this was something of interest to me, and I wanted to continue to pursue it. From there, I had the opportunity to work at the White House at the National Security Council, where I was a special assistant for the National Security Advisor. And a special assistant is someone that, supports the principal. They help them with, again, preparing their briefing materials and making sure they have all the information they need for their meetings. And again, that was an incredible experience, a very stressful one and a very demanding job. But really, again, just the opportunity to see up close at the highest levels of our government how foreign policy and national security decisions are made. After that amazing experience, I kind of shifted gears and I went to city government. And in my current role, as I mentioned, I'm representing the city of LA to cities around the world and to governments around the world. And I'm able to share what, progressive values that we, have in the city of Los Angeles with the rest of the world, and also learn from them best practices and how they are, implementing things like, transit innovations and climate change policies at their local level. And so this has been a role where I really get to take what I learned at the national level, but really localize it and to see where international relations really intersects with the day-to-day lives of people and of Americans. And so that's been a really fantastic experience.
That's great. So the humanities sort of launched you off, or your majors and your work at Trinity launched you out into really a set of interesting experiences you've been able to have. If you think back to being a student, what advice would you give to a student who's currently considering studying the humanities? What sorts of experiences do you think students, current humanities students, should be seeking out?
Yeah, so I think, if you're considering the humanities, and it's what interests you and it's what excites you, and you're drawn to those classes and you're drawn to those assignments and those books and all that comes with it. I mean, I think don't shy away from it and don't necessarily fight it. I think if you're interested in something, there's a reason for that, and it's likely that what you're interested in and what is going to overlap with what you're really good at. I think even if it's hard to see into the future and to know what it is, what is the practical, job or employment you will get from a humanities education, I think, you can be confident in knowing that you're going to learn how to think critically. You're going to learn how to write analytically. You're going to leave with, a worldview that is empathetic, that is understanding, and that, provides you a high degree of emotional intelligence and great interpersonal skills, because you're able to think outside the box and see the world in a different way. And so those are all things that are going to help you no matter what you end up doing. And it provides you a foundational set of skills that will serve you in any career. So my recommendation is, as hard as it is not to think purely practically, that if you are interested in the humanities, that it is definitely worth pursuing.
Can I follow up about additional experiences or students might seek out? You mentioned earlier that you did an internship. Did that play a significant role in where you landed and your progression?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, when you're studying the humanities and perhaps even trying to figure out what that looks like post undergrad, I think a great way to supplement that education is to, outside of school, pursue internship opportunities where you can really get kind of exposure to different sectors, to different industries, to different companies, and then you can really see how those worlds are intersected and what skills you're developing in the classroom that are going to serve you in the workplace. And so that was certainly the case for me. I did every summer would do kind of a different internship. I did some in San Antonio, I did some in Washington. And so, being able to try different things is really important and lets you kind of test what it is that you're interested in, and also gives you some real life experience, which is gonna help your resume when you do end up applying for jobs.
That's great. Thank you. And thank you so much for your time, Dilpreet. It's great to catch up with you. I know our students will benefit from hearing more about your journey. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Ruben.